Somebody asked me, and I thank you for doing this because I do it all the time, obviously. Look, I'm doing it to you right now. Just like, have you read Waken the Giant Within yet? Well, actually, Miss Love from the pod just did read Waken the Giant Within. Guess what happened? He finished his first album in 10 years. And it took him a couple of weeks. Give him a like for that. Round of applause. Good on you, Miss. I know that you sometimes watch these videos and most of the time I pay you out. And right now I am still 20% paying you out. But 80%, really proud of you. I am super proud of him. The reason specifically that I am proud of him though is because he sees the value in self-help. This is just going to be in general defense of self-help, and the fact that somebody came up to me digitally and asks me, I've been trying to get my friend into self-help. He says that it's stupid and gay. And look, just accept that. Just accept that the vast majority of people think, this is stupid. I know more than people that have read philosophers spanning back to ancient Greece to now, or psychologists and distilled all of the pearls of wisdom from that. I know personally better. And I've discussed before, I think that maybe is what the Dunning-Kruger effect is, but also, I just need to point this out about human beings. Human beings, and the sooner that you accept this, the better. Human beings, by design, are ignorant, selfish, greedy, and lazy. They do as little as possible to get through in life, because the whole evolutionary process of human beings is, did this keep me alive yesterday? Good, I'm going to continue doing it. What's so good about self-help is that it's just sitting there constantly being like, you're a piece of shit, here's why. And it's an entire book and you just go, guess I am. And it forces you to think about it. So it just programs a little part of your body, a little part of your mind, and reconditions it so that the next day you're not as bad. I understand that Jordan Peterson gets a lot of shit. And I think that it is completely unfounded. Everyone goes like, his views on history or climate change are suspect that I learned from Reddit. Because I am, again, these kind of people, this is what I hate about Reddit. It's just all these people that are like, I'm extremely intellectual because I read a little bit more than Twitter allows you to read. No, you suck. If you spend your entire life on Twitter, I know you're a bad person. You're the person that Jordan Peterson is talking about. Yeah, okay, he doesn't know what he's talking about in history. Do I know what I'm talking about in history? Do I know what I'm talking about in psychology? No, but I'm allowed to talk about it. Fuck you, it's my right, and you're watching it right now. No, obviously I don't know about those things. But what he does know, because he was a clinical psychologist for 20 years, is psychology. I think that one of the most insightful things that he ever said is, most people are mildly bad people. I completely subscribe to that. You'll see it constantly in psychological literature. He says it's like, for you to be a good person, you actually have to work on yourself a lot. To be an even remotely good person, to be an extremely good person, you have to work on yourself even more than that. But most people don't work on themselves. And as self-help is constantly stating, there's only two ways. There's either up or down. You're either growing or you're dying. There's no such thing as stagnating. There's no such thing as just all right people. Most people are just mildly bad. As in, if conditions aren't right, as we learned in the mass hoarding of 2020 of toilet paper, if conditions aren't set to a certain level, it was like the line that they said in Parasite that, look, yes, our boss is nice, but it's very easy to be nice when you're extremely rich. There's the counter-argument to this. This is the thing that people always come on this channel all the time and just be like, I don't know, just people are thinking like, the Marxist revolution. What? Because I'm a really weird subsect of Reddit. So it always goes back to that. There's very predictable people because they just buy into the groupthink of these little shitty bubbles that they accumulate of themselves. But, yeah, they'll always come up and just say that like, dude, you're just saying that millionaires are nice people because they afforded the opportunity. Yeah, I get that argument, okay? But I'm talking about self-made millionaires. A lot of self-made millionaires, to get to the position that they are, had to offer a service to society. And as a result of offering a service to society better than anybody else, they were rewarded. I understand that there's big business marketing ploys. I've got an entire channel based on corruption. When it comes to, huge multinational corporations. Yes, there's a lot of selfish, bad people in the world. Yes, right? But there's certain admirable traits in the self-made man. Because Yes, there might be that tiny subset that are scamming you to get there, but a lot of the time those people get found out. And on top of that, their life is deficient anyway in other areas, so why do you care? That's what's so good about self-help. It's about developing you as a rounded person. And then, look, this is the other thing that always happens in self-help. They'll point out something like, Tony Robbins actually got a divorce, so he can't be giving relationship advice. How many relationships have you been in? I'm an incel. Jordan Peterson was addicted to opioids, but he was giving advice about addiction. Yeah, we get this, okay? Self-help is not, just because somebody is saying it doesn't mean that they practice what they preach. It's impossible to practice what you preach in self-help because life is much more complicated than what self-help articulates. But at the same time, self-help is constantly articulating that yes, life is a lot more complicated than what you think. But here's a path. Here's a path that if you stay on that path, you are going to be better off than the average person who doesn't even know that the path exists. It's just a constant walk of trying to stay on that path as long as possible and getting off it. Other things that people always come up to me, they always say that, look, I started doing what you were saying. I started reading for an hour a day. I started meditating. I started exercising. And then I stopped. And now I feel really bad about it. What should I do? My advice every time, start doing it again. There's points in my life over and over again where I stop reading, I stop exercising. No, well, actually, I've been pretty consistent with exercise. But I stopped meditating and I stopped reading because I just, start convincing myself because this is what the brain always does. Oh, I'm too busy. No, I'm not too busy. I'm just lazy and greedy and ignorant and self-absorbed like everybody else. But what self-help does after a while is that it says, it kind of drills into your head. You are a worm. You're a little maggot, but if you keep staying on that path, you'll be a little more muscly maggot than everybody else. And after doing it for years, those little accumulative advantages that you've had of trying to tell the truth over a long period of time, of trying to develop a character of integrity, these things start blossoming fruits later on down the line. Does it mean that you're always consistent with it? No. Human beings are a lot more complicated than that. Another way of also extremely habitual creatures, but things happen in your life that change those habits. Just something like slightly deflecting it, like a satellite getting a little tiny comet go ding, and then it goes and then goes completely off orbit. That does happen. That definitely happens, which is why you need to keep reminding yourself of this stuff. But when you start talking to your friends about this stuff, how they kind of just have this glazed over expression of, I know better. Nah, that sounds kind of stupid, dude. Tony Robbins, isn't he a snake oil salesman? I mean, I've never read him. I've never really looked at any of his content, but I've heard someone else say that he's a snake oil salesman, and I agree. Like, these people haven't developed themselves enough to understand that they need development. You shouldn't envy those people. You shouldn't even try and save those people, because this is the whole point about the self-development lifestyle, right? Is that, like, okay, when it comes to politics, I'm always trying to push politics on people because I understand that it affects everybody. Like, you should be pushing for a government that serves the population, right? But when it comes to you, personally, no. No. You, like, self-development, if you resonate with these videos, great. That's really cool. I'm very, very happy that you personally do it, because it's just one less goddamn rapscallion in the world if they follow the advice. But you can't expect everybody to resonate with this. But what I think you will find is if you follow the advice on this channel over the years, you will start apparating. No, wait, separating. Wait, isn't apparate disappear? You will become invisible, and then you will become a floating soul. Fact. So you're aiming. I just rubbed my nose during quarantine. Oh no, I'm touching my face now. All you're aiming to do is improve yourself, and maybe by the fact that you are getting results, other people will go, hey, how are you there and I'm here? That has happened to a couple of my friends. Not many. Most of them just kind of sat there and went, that guy sucks. He just thinks he's so big now. He's fucking shit. All his content sucks. What do? Sit around in a bar and sniff coke in the toilet. there's those people, but there are other people that just went, hey, hang on, he's getting really good results. What's happening? And so as a result of leading by example, it's such a lame phrase, lead by example, but like, you know, after leading by example after a while, that's how people kind of start getting into it, because they start asking you how you got there. And the thing about self-help, I think anyway, is that when you read it, you're just happy to discuss these ideas because they're just floating around in your head anyway, and talking about them clarifies them, and you want to see your friends do better, but the thing is they have to want to do better. That's the whole thing about change in life. When someone says, I have a fear of snakes, they can change the fact that they have a fear of snakes. It's just, are they going to? Do they actually want to? Or do they like the idea of being scared of snakes because it makes them quirky? And so I think that that's what happens, right? It's just that these books basically really hone into you the fact that unless you work on yourself a lot, you are going to be a mildly bad person and you will get bad results in life. I really like this hierarchy that they talk about, is that, look, if you are a bad person, usually what happens is you'll just get fired, you'll end up in jail. That's a bad person. Then you have just average people. And average people, eventually, when there is like a downturn or anything like that, out the door, because they're unremarkable. They haven't developed anything about themselves that is of any real substance or depth. So they're out the door. Then there's the good people. This is Tony Robbins' point, and it always haunts me. It's just like, my wife left me. I don't understand. I was a good husband, and it breaks my heart. I have to stare at that man in the eye and tell him that's exactly why she left. Because you're good. It's not good enough. And so what happens is the good people get bad results. So they go through life, and yeah, they're here, but their results are here. That's how life works. It's just like the 80-20 rule, those kind of things. That's what happens at that point. Then you have people that are great. And great people get good results. And then you have people that are excellent and they get great results. That's when you start getting into that top 20% area, right? But then you have the leaders in that field. The people that are really pushing the area that they are in forward. They are the outstanding. They're the real creme de la creme. And what are their results? So if you're excellent, it must really piss you off. But the thing is that usually if you're excellent, you're going to beat one of those creme de la creme people eventually. But if you're excellent, you get great results in life. And that annoys you because you are disproportionately rewarded on a downward trajectory. But if you are one of those leaders in the field, if you are truly outstanding, you get most of the rewards. This is the same thing that happens in every field, and it's because they are deciding what the field is. They're the one pushing the field forward. And so as a result of that, all of the rewards go to them, because if somebody can get them, they will. The same thing with, like, I guess with Stephen King or something, right? Look, people always trash Stephen King, but the man's prolific. And the fact that he is a recognized name, I think 50% of the book sales go to him. Just him. 50% of the book sales globally, because he's just at that eye-level shelf at the airport where people go, no, Stephen King, oh, spooky, and they pick him up, and he gets the money for it. There's all these other struggling authors down there that don't. What was the key distinction between Stephen King and the rest? Well, first of all, I think that Stephen King has actually written some really good novels. A lot of them are crap, but the thing is, he pumped heaps of them out. That's why he's outstanding, because he's just such a prolific writer. And then obviously there was a bunch of luck that was involved with that as well. But that was his contribution to it. Look, it's the same story over and over and over again in life. Is that just, yes, when you are on the path of self-help, you will revert back to your old self. There will be points where you're having an argument with your spouse, or you're having an argument with your parents or your friends or whatever, and it'll trigger some childhood trauma or whatever, and then you just go, "Dah!" and then yell. But the difference is, people that don't know anything about childhood trauma or whatever, they are not, or whatever, they are not going to work on it, because they don't even know it exists. But at least you're conscious of the fact that it exists. So the next time it happens, you can identify it, and then you can rectify it over years. You can fix it. It is a non-stop project, your life. That's the cool part about it, is that a lot of people, I think, waste their lives on stupid hobbies. or sport or something distractory like that. But what self-help teaches you is that you are your own hobby. You should be working on yourself like people work on building giant train sets. Then if you've got time left over, I guess you can build giant train sets. Look, as I've just been saying this whole time, self-help is entirely up to you, but if you do it, just know you're better than everyone, okay? And just the fact that you are better than everyone, I think that deserves a like for me, all right? Give me more questions.